What's up, everyone? Jason Gable here with Justin Ehrlich, taking a look at some GPP bets for tonight's slate. Pretty heavy pitching slate. I mean, got like guys like Chris Archer, Clayton Kershaw, Bumgarner. So, I mean, overall, probably looking for some more cheap guys than actually expensive guys.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like one of those nights where you're going to want to have at least some exposure to these top guys. And it's going to be tough, obviously. Kershaw being almost 13,000 on FanDuel. He's really expensive on DraftKings too. But yeah, there not a slate can go by where I don't get myself some Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. First one here, you got Chicago, New York in Yankee Stadium. Dylan Covey versus Masahiro Tanaka. I know one guy, I mean, you like Tanaka tonight as a GPP guy. So, I mean, any interest in the White Sox hitters at all?
No, the White Sox have been so bad. I mean, if this was like a 4 or 5 game slate, maybe I'll play some one-offs there. Garcia, Frazier, or somebody. Assuming Frazier should be back tonight, I think. But no, I mean, if you look at their numbers, especially against righties this year, I mean, they have just been just horrible. I mean, their hard contact rate is second worst in the league. They're walking 5% of the time, striking out 25%. I mean, Tanaka hasn't been great necessarily. He's improved over the last couple starts, but I mean, he's still missing a lot of bats. And I mean, I think even if he gives up a couple runs here, which I'm sure he will, then I still think he has really high strikeout upside here because these guys just look lost. And I don't know what happened to Jose Abreu, but that guy hasn't looked right in a little over a year now, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, Abreu's going last year was that first half slump, and then like he finally turned around the second half. But I mean, his hard contact rate is absolutely horrible. He's hitting everything into the ground again. Yeah, I mean, I'm off Chicago as well. Yankees, I do have some interest in. I mean, I like him as a stack tonight. You look at Covey, wasn't anything special in his debut. I mean, yes, it was a quality start, but overall doesn't miss bats in this ballpark. I mean, Yankees offense is rolling too.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Aaron Judge, who's just on fire, and FanDuel does not want to price him up, much like they did with Eric Thames. So, he's only 3,100, and he's got 4 homers in his last 6 games, playing in that small ballpark again. I mean, I think he's going to be for an 11-game slate. I think he's going to be a pretty popular play.
I do too. Another guy I like is Chase Headley. He's another one who's been rolling here to start. And you look at Ellsbury, Gardner, and Headley, they're all swiping bases right now too. I think they got 12 between the 3 of them. So, I mean, power and upside here for on the base pass and home run potential with this lineup. Second highest implied total on the night too.
Yeah, I mean, those guys run wild. So it's really nice to see those guys when, you don't even have to have the power upside with the top of the order guys there. So we've seen it with them already, a couple of big innings this year, so I definitely like them tonight.
Red Sox and Blue Jays next. Rick Porcello versus Francisco Liriano. I'll start with the Red Sox side here first. I mean, not all that expensive. I think last year we were used to paying just a really high price tag for these guys, but outside of Mookie Betts, I mean, they're not badly priced, and Francisco Liriano is one of those guys where he's just really boomer blessed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the absolute definition of that. What did he not even get out of the first innings, first start, then had a huge game next time out. So I don't think this is the spot for him against Boston. I probably won't be playing him. He's a guy I like to take a risk on sometimes. I don't think this is the spot where I will. And, Porcello, just with so many other good options, he just doesn't have that strikeout upside I'm looking for, even though Toronto's been not good this year. So for me, I think I'll be going with some Boston bats and probably not doing a whole lot on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Liriano, he allowed 26 home runs last year, which is absurd for a guy who is usually rolling a ton of ground balls in the past. I mean, I know most of it was coming in Toronto, but, guys like Mookie Betts, Hanley Ramirez is at a really nice price as a guy who matched lefties last year, over 300 ISO. Bogarts too. I mean, not bad prices. I like them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is, especially Mookie, finally, he got off that slow start, but over the last 3 games, he's just murdering the ball. So I think if I'm paying up for one batter tonight, I think I don't really care that Liriano does have high swing strike rate, any of that. I mean, he's still wild, and Mookie, in my mind, still one of the top. I mean, besides Trout, I mean, he's the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah. You look at Betts, hasn't struck out in like over 100 at bats.
It's because he is a god, and this kid's like 14. He's so good.
And you said Toronto, no bats you're really looking at here.
Not really. I mean, the guys you'd normally be looking at, guys like Bautista, I mean, obviously super early and dramatic to say that he just doesn't have it anymore, but I don't know that there's.
He doesn't have it anymore.
I mean, seriously, he can't even hit a fastball anymore. I mean, he's horrible. He's not hitting the ball hard. He looks lost at the plate. So I don't know if they stopped tipping off pitches in the outfield or whatever it is, but Bautista he's an avoid for me for now until he gets it together.
Yeah,
I'm not really cheering for him, if I'm being honest.
No, I mean on this 11 game slate, last night you could have taken some shots with Toronto, but tonight, nah.
Yeah, not really. The spot.
Baltimore, Cincinnati. I think all of us had that game reversed last night, where we were expecting basically a switch sides here. Yeah. Baltimore, I mean, as far as these bats go, I mean, Amir Garrett does have a tough task, but Baltimore isn't the most consistent options against lefties. But I do like them still in tournaments.
I mean, I could honestly see the appeal of playing either Garrett, for the strikeout upside, because, I mean, even Arroyo got 4 strikeouts last night, and, I mean, that's about as good as it gets for him. I know he still gave up some runs, but, this is a team still does have just monster power top to bottom. So I'll definitely still have a Baltimore stack or two. But, if people are going to go back to the well there, I think that Garrett might be a nice contrarian move in some tournaments. But I'm going back to Manny Machado because he killed me last night. But, I mean, I'm still not giving up on him in these decent spots.
I think Adam Jones is probably the safest guy, and I have this theory. I mean, it's not a hot take or anything, but these guys that did play in the World Baseball Classic have actually come in hitting really well to start the year, and Adam Jones has been one of them. And obviously we're 2 weeks in, but Jones is a really nice price on DK. I mean, only 4,400. All these guys have really weird numbers against lefties. It's like they have 1 year where they're really good, and then they just suck the next year, and then 1 year where they're really good. Jones was one of those guys. Trumbo was one of those
Mark
guys.
Trumbo. You're talking about Mark Trumbo.
Yeah, Trumbo last year. I mean, oh my,
he needs to go back to Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I mean,
he was below average. He was horrible last year against lefties,
and he led the league in home runs still for some reason.
There's no rhyme or reason to what Mark Trumbo does. It's like a mood thing. He's trolling us. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm not going to stop playing because, I mean, especially in that ballpark, I mean, he doesn't have to really even get a hold of one to send one out.
No. Another guy, Wellington Castillo, I like too. Cheaper catcher. Historical numbers against lefties are solid as well.
Historical. Yep, I know. I keep falling for that too, but it's hard not to because he has such power. Power.
As far as the Reds bats go, I mean, in a good spot here. Went off for 9 runs last night. Get you Ubaldo Jimenez, a far weaker arm than Gossman is.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? 6% swing strike rate, walks a ton of guys. I mean, much like Arroyo last night, this almost seems like just a perfect spot for the Reds to disappoint. But I mean, guys like Adam Duvall, Jimenez has been terrible in righty-righty matchups seemingly forever. And I mean, giving up a ton of hard contact. I think he's struck out like 1 right-handed batter so far this year and given up, I think, hits to almost half of them. So, I mean, this is a perfect spot for the Reds, and I am more than willing to be wrong on him. But Duvall's price on FanDuel is just insane. I mean, I think he's a guy I'll probably play. He's going to be a one-off for me in most lineups.
Yeah, I like Duvall. I mean, I like guys like Votto. I mean, and I'm curious to see the high-price guys because of the pitching on tonight's slate. I don't think they're going to garnish a ton of ownership. And you look at Jimenez, I mean, since last year, 379 WOBA to lefties. I'll even toss in some shares of like a Scott Schebler and GPP, Tucker Barnhart if you need to punt. Like, I don't mind basically going 1 through 8 here just with the way they're hitting the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, Billy Hamilton too. I mean, all he has to do is get on, and he'll just be off to the races. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a sneaky stack by any means, but it's definitely one you're going to want a piece of.
Tigers and Rays, Jordan Zimmerman versus Chris Archer, one of the lower totals on the night. Archer's not a guy I usually like to target. I actually think he's probably a better GPP arm than actually taking bats against him tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you see the Tigers are leading the league in hard contacts against righties and lefties, which is fine. But Archer, like you said, he's one of those guys that's still like the upper middle tier, I guess, of pitchers on this slate. And if he can avoid those big innings where he just struggles with command, then he's got big upside. And there's still that just, I don't want to say misconception, but that belief that the Tigers are just going to match every pitcher. And I don't, they also are prone to just disappear. So Mickey's getting hot, and that worries me. But I definitely like Archer in this spot, and I don't like Jordan Zimmerman. I never have. He's a much better real-life pitcher than he is in fantasy, and I will not now or ever probably play him.
And I don't even know if he's a good real-life pitcher anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's serviceable. I mean, if Ubaldo Jimenez can keep a job for this long, then Zimmerman should be getting Kershaw money.
Well, they have to. They paid him like 120 million. I mean, they have to keep him now.
Man, I can give up a home run every 2 innings. Put me in. Give me min salary.
I mean, do you like Ray's bats here? I mean, they're projected for nearly 4.5 runs.
I mean, you got to like the guys like Corey Dickerson should be leading off. He's got the platoon advantage. Guys like Brad Miller's got some power. Obviously, it's like the most neutral ballpark ever. Not a great one for power, but anytime they're facing a righty, I like to get those left-handed bats in there. Kiermaier kind of does a little bit of everything, steals some bases. So Longoria, I guess. I'll put it like a mini stack in there, but I mean, if I'm building a cash game lineup, I don't think any of the guys will make it.
Yeah. I mean, they're all cheap. I mean, Dickerson's 33 on DraftKings, 34 on FanDuel, or 34 on DK as well. So, I mean,
yeah,
they're cheap. So, I mean, if you do want some power, some upside, and still trying to fit in with an insane 14K price tag for Kershaw, that'll do it.
Yeah, you're going to need some guys like that. And, I mean, definitely some upside.
Phillies, Mets, Robert Selman versus Vince Velasquez. How many times is Vince Velasquez going to face the Mets this year?
I mean, 6, 8 at least. I actually had to look because I thought for a second that he has already faced them twice. It was actually one of them.
It was late last year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's not a good position for him. I mean, it's one of those teams. They're like Baltimore in the sense that they've got power kind of top to bottom. A lot of guys that are inconsistent though, but. I mean, the way you've got Conforto's hot, Cespedes, I don't want to play anybody in Cespedes right now. I mean, the strikeout upside's definitely still there. And on this slate, the fact that he hasn't been particularly good, hasn't really had that strikeout upside yet. I do think he's a really interesting option. But, I mean, if you're building 3 to 5 lineups, he's not going to make it for me on FanDuel. But if you're building like 10, I'll definitely have a piece.
Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, as the Mets are rolling right now, you do look at Velasquez. I mean, struggled against lefties last year and still this year. I mean, I don't mind, guys like Jay Bruce, Asdrubal Cabrera. I mean, Asdrubal Cabrera on DraftKings 3,500. There's a guy who's been, I feel like, an underrated shortstop in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when he was in Cleveland, we thought of him as a guy with upside and he's an all-star and all this. And then after he left, we just kind of thought of him as, the on-base guy and all that. And he's one of those guys that I hate to play him in a non-stack in GPPs because I just don't see much power upside. But I mean, with the potential this lineup has, I think he makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you don't believe in Velasquez, I mean, he's a fine cash game guy too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at shortstop where there aren't really a ton of options and probably not a spot I'm going to be paying up for, price tag's not too bad. As far as the Phillies go, I mean, this might be an area where you can get a little bit sneaky. I mean, I don't mind guys like Odubel Herrera or Franco or Saunders if you're trying to be really contrarian tonight because I don't think someone's a bad arm, but I don't think he's obviously untouchable.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of torn because I don't think he's particularly good right now. That's not to say he won't be. I mean, he's young, but the Phillies are one of those teams that I hate to stack because I just don't. It seems like a bunch of castaways and guys like Michael Saunders. I would say no offense, but I mean, I don't really care about Michael Saunders.
He doesn't care about you.
Yeah, he doesn't care about me either. But I mean, Herrera's good. I like Franco for his upside, but I mean, he strikes out a ton. I mean, if you're going to stack the Phillies, I think it almost needs to be, for me at least, like a DK thing where you go and you get 5 guys because I just don't see a lot of individuals having a lot of big upside. They almost have to have. They're not going to have a 12-run inning again or whatever it was. But if he struggles, that's good. But the Mets bullpen's been pretty good too, so I don't expect him to do a whole lot late.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more intrigued with the prices, like Cesar Hernandez, 3,100, Daniel Nava, 2,900. I mean, just in terms of just anticipating Kershaw being into your lineups, I mean, these are guys to think about at least.
Yeah, I mean, Hernandez has been really good. I mean, he makes a lot of sense as a cash game guy there in the middle infield because, I mean, he's even showing a little bit of power upside, which I don't think he's going to maintain that. But, I mean, as far as all middle infielders, I mean, he's been one of the most consistent performers so far.
Yeah, he really has. Nationals Braves, Joe Ross versus Luis Teheran. This is one of those games where I just feel like I'm kind of off the board completely. I mean, I like the lefties against Teheran, but I don't know if I can pay up for him. I mean, Murphy maybe, but it's tough. It's tough.
I think for me, if I'm playing somebody, I'm just going to play Bryce Harper because he owns him. And, I mean, I know BVP, believe it, don't believe it, but, I mean, it's a huge sample size with those two. And, I mean, he just – Let me see if I can get those numbers. But I know he just absolutely kills him. Let's see, 13 for 31, 5 homers, 8 extra base hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. So, I mean, that's a pretty significant. I mean, that's Paul Goldschmidt versus Tim Lincecum type of numbers. So, I mean, if there's one guy that you feel like just owns their matchup, I mean, I think that might be the one. But like I said, if you're going to Kershaw, you're not getting Bryce Harper in your lineup.
No, not unless you're paying 2K guys everywhere else. And even then, I don't know if it's possible. But
and then you better hope he gets 2 homers or else you're money away.
But that's it for me. I mean, Washington, I like the SunTrust. I like the way it's playing so far for hitters, but on tonight's slate, it just doesn't work out as far as lineup construction goes.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a Teheran fan, as you know, but I mean, he's still a serviceable pitcher, and I'm definitely not playing any righties against him because he is really, really tough on righties. But that ERA number, don't look at that. That's very misleading. It's not good.
No. On the Braves side, I think the only one I'll consider is Freddie Freeman. 46 on DraftKings isn't that bad. Upper threes on FanDuel is a little bit pricey, but 46 is decent for a guy who, I mean, Joe Ross, he's kind of like his brother, but he has struggled against lefties in his career.
Yeah, and I mean, he had some big struggles against him, and it's exciting that Freeman's finally got that kind of power upside that I guess he kind of always had it, but it seemed more of an average power thing. What was he hitting, 20-some homers, whatever it was. But now all of a sudden, I mean, we're seeing big time upside. And he actually has some decent hitters around him. So not one of those guys last year, I wasn't excited about playing him as a one-off, but even with Kemp out of there, I like him.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping, I mean, once Kemp comes back too, is like putting Markakis in front of instead Swanson. I mean, Inciarte, Markakis, 2 good on base guys. I mean, that loads up for Freeman. I mean, the knack has always been no RBI chances for this guy, but this Braves offense isn't that bad.
And they need to move Swanson down to 6 or 7. Let's be honest. It's not working out.
No, it's not.
I know it's early, but I mean, stop putting so much pressure on the kid. Put him in 6.
Indians Twins. This one has some weather concerns. Look like it could be a possible rain. I think this is the one that I've seen the weather guys worried about. We'll say if it does play, I mean, obviously Indians are going to come in as a chalky option. DK still fails to price these guys up. I mean, last year they did an excellent job of getting them at 5K, but this year not so much.
Yeah, and I mean, for this one, I mean, you're obviously not playing either of these pitchers anyway. This one could be a slugfest, and I don't like Trevor Bauer. I don't think he's good.
No.
He struggles with command, gives up too many homers. I mean, he just almost always has that big inning. And I certainly don't like to play him against a team that, the Twins are walking a ton this year. So that big inning that he just always seems to have, or multiple big innings. I know he's only walked 2 batters over 2 starts this year, but I need to see more than, 10 innings before I believe that he's actually got it figured out. So if this game plays, I kind of hope it is like they say it's an orange, be careful with this one because you're not playing the pitchers anyway. I'll take a couple shots on some full game stacks on this one.
Yeah, I will too. Especially with the late swap. I mean, 8-10, you can really push this one up until the wire of keeping guys in or not. So you have to stay around your computer an extra hour, but it might be worth it with the upside of some of these guys against an inexperienced lefty.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So on the Twin side, though, I'm with you. I think they're going to come in, obviously, at much lower ownership. I'm not a big Trevor Bauer guy either. I mean, big power with guys like Kepler, Grossman, Sano, Dozier. I'm not going to talk about Joe Mauer.
No, we don't talk about Joe Mauer. I mean, if you just need a guy to not strike out, Joe Mauer's your guy. But anywhere where you don't just get a bonus for not striking out, that's now he's going to homer tonight, and that's fine. Like, you can play him and spend your money on him. But I mean, for me, I mean, Dozier is definitely my favorite play. Kepler's got some upside. Sano, I mean, I saw he's 1 for 15 against Bauer. So if you're a believer in that, then I mean that's a decent size sample size. But I mean, for Sano, for me, I mean, I don't care. Bauer's only got it like a 9% swing strike right now. And it's before we kept thinking he was going to be an elite strikeout pitcher, struggle with command, but I mean 9%, that's barely average. So I'm not worried there. I'm all about the Twins.
Yep, me too. Angels, Astros, Dallas Keuchel versus JC Ramirez. Angels side, I probably just don't want any part of. I mean, the only guy you would probably pay up for is Mike Trout, and I think we've named 2 outfielders that we'd rather use.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go Harper or Betts over him for sure. Keuchel, I was looking at his BABIP numbers this year, and they're ridiculously low. Have you seen those?
No.
Okay, so his BABIP against lefties is .077, 15% hard hit rate, of course. No surprise there. Obviously, you're not going to maintain that. And I was thinking, obviously lefty, he's tough on lefties. But BABIP against righties, 125, 14% hard hit rate. So obviously he's not getting hit hard, but he's getting really, really lucky also. And he's not striking out a ton of guys. He's doing what he did 2 years ago when he was a really, really good pitcher. And he's eating up innings. And he's not really out there going Chris Sale on it and trying to get, 10 strikeouts. He's just trying to go as deep as he can. So I think he's a really good cash game guy, but I don't think I'm really going to play him in tournaments because the Angels don't strike out. And he's really doesn't have that strikeout upside anymore, I don't think.
No, it just kind of neutralizes it. I feel like, one, the Angels don't strike out a ton, as you said. Keuchel, not a big strikeout guy. I just feel like it washes each other out.
Yeah, exactly. And I love Keuchel, don't get me wrong, but I think if you can't pay up for a guy like Kershaw, I think he's a perfectly fine single pitcher in your cash game lineup.
As far as Houston bats go, I mean, I don't mind the cheaper guys, maybe like a Josh Reddick or Carlos Beltran, maybe a Brian McCann in the GPP. Just looking at JC Ramirez, I mean, guy I don't mind targeting with lefties. I just feel like guys like Altuve, Springer, Correa, if he's in the lineup, are just too expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, Springer, he's been hitting a ton of home runs, but aside from that, he's really not doing anything. He's not stealing bases. He's batting, 230, 240, somewhere in there. So he's got that home run upside, of course, but on this big slate, like we said, there's some better matchups. And as much as I love George Springer, I don't think he's going to make many of my lineups tonight.
No. Giants Royals next year. Jason Vargas versus Madison Bumgarner. The only interesting note here about the weather is it looks like 20-mile-per-hour winds blowing out to left. I mean, that might give me a bump of maybe like a Hunter Pence. I might take a look at as a contrarian option because Vargas has had a couple of decent games to start this year, but larger sample size, this guy is just really an average lefty.
Well, you don't think that Jason Vargas is going to keep a .66 ERA for the rest of the year?
No, like 1.66 is probably more accurate.
That's fair. Yeah, he's again, it's a guy who I think if recency bias weren't so big on him with him having those two great starts, I actually think it's a pretty good spot for him. Because the Giants, after the first couple games this year, really haven't been hitting lefties at all, and they don't really have much power. But I think he's going to be over-owned for the talent level that he actually is here, and the Giants are still a team that puts the ball in play. So I'm perfectly fine fading him here. And I think Bumgarner's got not quite Kershaw upside here, but I think he's definitely, because people don't like to play him on the road. People still have that belief that the Royals don't strike out a lot, but I think those days have kind of come and gone here, and I think that Bumgarner's definitely got that 10+ K upside here.
Yeah, and we're also looking once again at a pretty good pricing difference between him and Kershaw. It was kind of like last night with Darvish and Scherzer. It didn't quite pan out. Scherzer ended up being the higher scorer. But as far as guys in this game, I'm not particularly thrilled with the lower run totals. I think Vargas on DK though, 5,300. All you need is basically a quality outing out of him, and you're using him as just strictly salary relief anyway.
Yeah, I don't mind him for that. I don't see him really getting blown up here at all. But there's not a chance in hell you'd pay 8,200 for him on FanDuel as your only pitcher.
No,
against a team that doesn't strike out. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No. So as far as that one, any hitters you like? I think Pence is the only guy that I'll be intrigued with.
No, I don't play guys against Bumgarner. I know Sal Perez has some power. But guys like Lorenzo Cain, I saw something. I can't remember who wrote. I think it was Fantasy Labs maybe about how lucky he's been. Where it looks like he's got great numbers so far, but his average batted ball distance, exit velocity, all that is really, really far down. So, a guy like him who looks like he's doing well is not. And I think the Royals are a crappy offense. I don't think they're going to have a good season at all. Hosmer against a righty, you like him, I guess. Sal Perez, if you want some power, but I don't like Alex Gordon. He doesn't have any upside. It's just a below average offense for me, not one I'll be playing much all year, probably.
No, Kane, I like him against lefties, but not this lefty. And as you said, Chisler Cuthbert, Paulo Orlando, Alcides Escobar, Christian Colon, Drew Patera. It sounds like a AAA team.
Yeah,
once you get past those
like
four
one
guys.
tonight too.
Rockies Dodgers next year. Tyler Anderson versus Clayton Kershaw. No real use here. Nolan Arenado coming off a 2-homer night, but that was Hyunjin Ryu, not Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, that's not going to happen again tonight. I mean, I actually saw, obviously, ridiculously small sample size, but Kershaw's actually given up 2 home runs already to lefties this year. And I
Hey,
don't,
it's been happening. It's been happening more and more lately.
it's absolutely insane. And I mean, I don't, obviously, it doesn't concern me by any means at all. But I mean, if I remember right, I want to say he only gave up, maybe it was Chris Sale, over like the last couple of years. He only gave up like 1 or 2 home runs to lefties total. It might have been Sale. Let me see. So we see Kershaw's already given up 4 homers this year, 2 lefty, 2 to righties.
Okay,
Somehow,
what? 3 of those were in cores.
well, 2, but he gave up 0 home runs to lefties all of last season. Only faced 141 of them, of course. The previous year gave up 5, but either way, I mean, numbers like that, they're stupid. I mean, he's still.
So what?
I mean,
So what lefties homering tonight off Kershaw?
No one. No. Charlie Blackmon. There you go.
Yeah.
If a lefty's going to homer off him, for me, it's Blackmon. Cargo sucks. He's not good anymore. I mean, I can give you actual numbers if you want, but he's like the least productive player to play in a lefty-lefty matchup ever. I mean, I don't even know. I would not be surprised, honestly, to see him not be in the lineup tonight because he can't hit lefties to save his life.
No,
Like,
he can't.
give him a day off.
So, with that being said, no one really here worth using.
No. Charlie Blackmon's not actually going to hit a homer tonight.
On the Dodgers side, I mean, a couple guys banged up. Forsythe's seems like banged up really much to start the year. Justin Turner's questionable. I don't mind Yasiel Puig. I mean, he's off to a good start. He's increased his fly ball rate, which is nice to see. Yasmani Grandal's interesting. Kike Hernandez, shortstop eligible on DK for some reason. At 3K, I can see that using him there.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he's got the platoon there. I mean, I guess
it's the shortstop eligible that gets me over the hump. If he was only outfielder, I wouldn't use him.
Yeah, I mean, he's cheap too. I'll give you that. And I mean, he's a guy that is a good filler, when facing a lefty. And he's got some power, facing a ground ball pitcher. I mean, there's a lot of decent stuff going for him there. And I mean, but really for me in this one, if it's not Puig, it's going to be Grandal because he's cheap and he's got power upside.
Yeah, only 3,300 on DK, below 3K on FanDuel, so I don't mind him there. Look at Tyler Anderson. I mean, the guy who I thought actually pitched pretty well last year is not off to a good start this year.
No, and I mean, if you think about it, really, he's that guy that's he's like the Brett Anderson kind of was when he's there. He's been a guy. He's not quite an elite ground ball pitcher, but he keeps the ball on the ground. He's not going to miss any bats. He's going to throw the ball like. He's gonna pitch to contact, and I don't ever target guys who pitch to contact. I mean, if you don't have a put away pitch, which he really doesn't have, and you're pitching to contact, even in a spot where you're facing, a team that like the Dodgers that, regardless of being obviously at home, I mean they're horrible against left-handed pitching. They're just so bad against lefties. Yeah, I mean, even Corey Seager kind of struggles against lefties. I still am not scared of playing him there, but for me, it's going to just be the righties. I don't see any point in taking a chance on the lefties here.
No, I'm with you there. Arizona, San Diego, final game of the night. Zach Greinke versus Ulyss Chacin. This is kind of a site-dependent one for me. I think the Diamondbacks are actually really good plays over on DK. Pollock only 4,000, Peralta 3.6, Lamb's 3.9. I mean, Lamb's 3.9 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing with Lamb is I wanted to hate this guy, and I didn't really like him last year. He kind of was one of those guys I felt like I always would put in my Arizona stacks, and he'd let me down. And then when I would leave him out of them, I'd just be on the wrong side of him. But, I mean, he's hitting the ball really well right now. And, I mean, if you're looking at this spot, I mean, I think it's a pretty good spot for both teams. We'll get to Greinke in a minute, I guess. But, I mean, Chacin might be the worst pitcher on the planet against left-handers. I mean, he is just horrible, and it's not a new thing. He's been horrible at it for years. So that's one of my favorite spots. I love when he pitches and you got decent lefties against him. I mean, David Peralta, you can put in there. Any lefty with a bat, I'll play against him tonight. And I mean, I don't mind the righties like Goldschmidt too, but I think it's kind of one of those spots where you get interesting and stack a different first baseman in there and go, just full lefty stacks because whatever it is, I mean, the guy's incapable of getting lefties out.
And you look at me, Arizona's one of the teams where it's like, okay, Petco's pretty tough on righty power. It's pretty neutral to lefties. They're running a ton too. I mean, I think they're second to Cincinnati in stolen bases per game this year. So I mean, you got to like that. And you're always going to get lower ownership out here in these West Coast games too. So I mean, I'm really okay with using the Diamondbacks. I think cash and GPP wise on DraftKings, where FanDuel they're probably a little bit more GPPs just because their prices are up.
Yeah, I kind of actually like both sides of this one. I think this is an interesting one to stack both sides of because, I mean, Greinke's not. I'm not going to say he's not good. Greinke's still a good pitcher, but he is not, and I don't think ever will be, an elite pitcher again. I mean, his numbers last year were not good. I mean, especially for a guy getting paid what he's getting paid. I think that the Dodgers should feel fortunate that they're not stuck with him anymore because he's given up hard contact now. He's not striking many batters out. I mean, he's given up home runs. I think it was 1.3 per 9 last year. I mean, he's just not that good. And I think that the Padres are an interesting stack because they do have some young guys with power. And I think, honestly, one of my favorite plays the whole night, as crazy as it sounds, is Will Myers because he's actually been killing right-handed pitching. Greinke's not missing a lot of bats, like I said. I mean, Will Myers is just super underrated. He's a guy that nobody is going to play against Zach Greinke tonight, especially given that ballpark. And I think he's just could be a game changer here.
Yeah, I mean, I like Myers that he's priced down a little bit more. But I'm with you. I'm not a big believer in Greinke. Myers and probably Schimpf in a GPP are probably the two that I'd be looking at in this one, just because Schimpf has that monster power upside.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm certainly fine with that because I'm not really using Greinke tonight. That's gonna wrap things up here. You can head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out our great tools and content.